Tuesday, Dirty Girls. It is time for Training Tuesday. So, welcome. I hope everybody is enjoying their Tuesday and having a fabulous afternoon. We are having a heat wave here in scenic New England. It is hot. And this office is not air conditioned. So, if I start melting in front of you, you will know why. We're in the 90s today, which is both unusual and just really hot. It's just really hot. So welcome to Training Tuesday. We are here every week on Training Tuesday, almost every week on Training Tuesday, to talk about issues that are important to you when it comes to navigating your career, to work-life balance, to creating the life that you want to live, building a life that you actually want, instead of one that we sometimes tend to just kind of fall into or stumble across, all that good stuff. So, tonight we're talking about kind of a variety of things. Tonight I made it an Ask Me Anything night, which is not something I've actually done before. So, we're going to try this out and see how you guys like it. And hey, Miss Christine, how are you? I'm glad to have you here tonight. I hope that you are keeping cool in this lovely heat wave. And actually, Christine, while I've got you, can you hear me okay? I've got a fan going and it's rather loud in my background, but I'm hoping it's not impacting the audio here. So if anybody's having problems hearing me, let me know. Otherwise, hopefully the audio is okay and we can get through the questions that you all have. So, hey, Jackie, how are you? So, perfect. Thank you both. Thank you both. Okay, so audio is working great. So I put a call out in the last day or two to just say, if you have questions that I haven't tackled yet or something that's on your mind, tonight is the Ask Me Anything night where we'll tackle a variety of questions. So I got a couple over DM and email. And I think one was even posted live in the groups. So we're going to tackle those first. And if we have, I'm going to tackle the people who are here live first. So, and then if we have extra questions, the extra questions, if we have time, we'll cover those too. But the Ask Me Anything is truly kind of like an open mic of whatever you've been thinking about working on, wondering that you haven't had a chance to ask yet, or that I haven't covered in a Training Tuesday topic. We can use tonight to kind of tap into it. And then if it feels like it's a topic where we need to go deeper, we can definitely put it on the calendar for a future Training Tuesday. So in the meantime, everybody sit back, stay cool, because good Lord, it's hot. And question number one is, I should say, how do I get back to my love of, and kind of fill in the dot. So the love can be of any hobby, any activity. So with the particular questioner, it was writing, but it could also be painting, singing, dancing. It could be your work. But what happens when you've fallen maybe out of love with something that you used to do, or maybe you still love it but you just can't find like the mojo to get back into it again? It's like, I miss doing that, but I still can't quite motivate myself to go do the thing. And I can relate to this because I've gone through this multiple times in the last 15 years with running. Like, I love running. I love the way I feel when I run. I love the way, well, maybe not so much during the run, but definitely after. I love the sense of accomplishment. And yet, it is still hard to motivate my butt to get out of bed, to get out the door, to clock the miles. Because I can think of 10 million other things I could or should be doing instead. So, but when it's something that we are passionate about, or that we had some sort of love or passion for, it can be a little bit disconcerting to kind of feel like, well, I should want to do this, right? So what's wrong with me that I'm not just jumping back in, that I'm not diving in, that it doesn't feel good anymore, or I just feel unmotivated? And once we get into that thought process, we kind of get to dangerous territory, because that's where we start beating ourselves up. That's where we start telling ourselves that we're lazy, if we were just smarter, if we were just stronger, if we were just more motivated, we'd be getting more done. We'd be doing all the things, right? And we beat ourselves up for not being all that. So here's the deal. We can fall out of love with things for lots of reasons. Or maybe. Sometimes we just fall out of practice with things for lots of reasons. Our schedules change, our relationships change, our jobs change, we move, we had a bad day, we got sick, someone else got sick, right? Anytime you're in a schedule of some kind where things are flowing along and something comes and disrupts that, suddenly we're on a new schedule. And if that disruption kicks something out of your list of things, right? List of things that you do, then what happens is the easiest thing to give up is the thing we give up. And typically the easiest thing we give up is some form of either self-care, something we love, that it's all about taking care of us, because we always give up the things that make us feel selfish first. Or it's the thing that is simply the easiest to carve out because maybe it's not a time-bound activity. It's not a committed activity. So for example, if it's a hobby, excuse me, or an activity, and I apologize guys, I have a cold. I should have said that up front. I have a cold, and so I'm sort of navigating the dry throat and all of that. I will try not to cough too much or clear my throat too much in your ears. If it's an activity that is not particularly time-bound or committed, so it's painting, it's singing, it's writing, you're not in a writing class though, or you're not part of a writing group that holds each other accountable, then it's very easy to cut that out and let it go because it wasn't a time obligation anyway. So if you're feeling like, one, you're out of practice, you're out of habit, it's not in your schedule anymore, it's hard to work back in, and I see your note, Christine, especially if the feeling isn't there. Like, I used to love doing this, and I don't feel like I love it anymore. There's a couple of questions. One is, are you truly out of love with it? Is it truly something you've outgrown, you've moved on from, and it's time to get excited about something else? Because that happens. But also, are you simply not in love with it right now because right now it just feels like an extra thing you should be doing? Right? When we beat ourselves up for, well, I should be writing, I should be running, I should be painting, dancing, doing this project. Right? When we weigh ourselves down with that, we can sometimes slow ourselves down from actually moving forward. It becomes part of the guilt trip that we start going in circles in our head, and then we stay stuck. So I'm going to give you really quick and simple, because I'm supposed to answer multiple questions tonight, and I could stay a long time on this one actually. I'm answering these a little bit off the cuff too, guys, so I will try not to ramble. So here's my recommendation for figuring out, for one, getting back into the practice of something, and two, figuring out if it's something you still truly love, or you truly moved on from this, and maybe there's another way to express yourself that you need to find. There's another activity or another thing you need to do. So what I'm going to recommend is, first of all, you do schedule the time. You mark off time on your calendar, you commit to it. Ideally, you commit to it daily, but if not daily, commit to it weekly or bi-weekly. But you start with 5 minutes. You literally block out 5 minutes on your calendar every day to do the thing. So whether it's painting, writing, singing, dancing, I don't care. Whether it's working on a particular project, 5 minutes. And that's it. 5 minutes, you set a timer, you sit down, and you do nothing else for 5 minutes. So if you're writing, it's a free write. Right? It's a brainstorm write. It's a I don't know what to write, and write it 500 times for 5 minutes. Doesn't matter. If it's painting, whip out your supplies and you spend 5 minutes just coloring a canvas, whatever you want it to be. Singing, dancing, it doesn't matter what it is. The point is you are dedicating 5 minutes and then you're done. Cut it off. The timer goes off at 5 minutes, you are finished, and you walk away. You walk away. The next day, do 7 minutes. You're going to add 2 minutes every day. Because if you can do 5 minutes the first day, you can do 7 minutes the second day. You can do 9 minutes the third day. But every day you're just going to add 2 minutes. You are not to read what you wrote. You are not to go back and look at your paintings. You're not to judge what you did. That is not the point. The point is to do the thing in small, easy increments every single day. And you know what? If you need to do 5 minutes a day for the first 3 or 4 days, do it. Just do it. But here's the deal. You do it every day. You add 2 minutes, add 2-minute increments every day. And at the end of 10 days, so by the time you're at 10 days, you should be around 15 minutes. At the end of 10 days, sit back and assess. Do I want to do this again tomorrow? How do I feel about the last 10 days? Because we're not just building a little baby habit, a micro habit. We're also trying to get a sense of this. Is this something you want to continue? Is this something that is adding to your life? Now, if it's not an activity that necessarily you can do or want to do every day, maybe it's an activity you do with a friend. So another way to go about this is you sign up for a writing class, you sign up for a painting class, you sign up for a workout class, and you bring a buddy. You bring an accountability buddy. So you have someone do it with you, and you have to stick with it, though, at least 10 times before you decide this is for me or this is not for me. You want the repetition of at least 10 times before you say, I will never Zumba again, but so glad I tried. Or my singing years are over, I'm done with that, but I'm glad I gave it kind of a last go round. But 10 times. Okay? So how do you get your love back? You've got to figure out if it's still your love or not. That's the one thing. So baby micro habits, build it in. Okay, I'm going to move on to question 2. And Jackie, I'm going to look at yours because you're here live, and so you get bumped up to the top. Bigger Training Tuesday, but tips on, no, where'd it go? There we go. Tips on how to best handle promoting someone on the team and having other team members report to them. It changes the dynamic. Yes, it does. They could be happy or sad about it. I'm not totally sure. I'm curious about your thoughts. And managing a new manager and managing a manager. That's new to me. Okay. So when it comes to promoting someone from within a team, there's 2 things I do recommend. One is that if you're promoting this person, I have to assume that you have utter confidence that this person can do the job, can step up as a leader, not only to do the tasks you need them to do, but to manage the people you manage to people. So that is the energy and that is the message you want to make sure everyone on the team gets. This person earned this promotion, and I believe in his or her ability, in their ability, to step into the leadership role and to take all of us to some great new places. That is the message. High energy, high confidence. That's your job. As the VP, that's your job to say to everybody else, this is the person I've chosen, and there's all kinds of reasons why this person is wonderful and that I'm behind this. It's trickier for the person in the role. In the role, that person, what I recommend is that person has a one-on-one with everybody on the team as within the first week, within the first couple days of stepping into the role, to say, hey, I recognize that 2 days ago we were equals and now I'm your new boss, so I want to put out on the table, what are the things that maybe we need to be talking about, thinking about? What are your concerns? What are your worries? Part of the role of the manager is managing the people, and part of managing people is establishing open dialogue and communication, establishing the kind of manager that person is going to be. So I would advise you to, 1, give this person 110% of your support publicly across the team, because what you don't want is other team members back channeling to you, they don't like the person, they're upset about the person, they should have gotten the promotion instead. Actually, that's a conversation they should have with you. But any other just sort of unrest, you want to quash that. Do you want to quash that? So your job is to give 110% of your support publicly to this new manager. That manager's job is now to step into the role of being the kind of manager they want to be and managing the kind of team they want to manage. So assuming that they want an open relationship and open communications with their team members, very first conversation needs to be, hey, I understand you might be uncomfortable with this. Let's talk about that. Let's put our cards on the table. Let's talk about our concerns. Let's talk about what we're going to work on. Let's build a plan together for how we're going to navigate when you're upset, or how I give you feedback. But putting it out on the table and having an open conversation is the best thing your manager can do. Now, the people on the team may not be super receptive to that, or they may not be ready to have an open conversation, or they may not even know. That's okay. That is totally okay. The point of the manager having that conversation is setting the tone with the team of, this is how I'm going to lead. This is the kind of leader I am. This is why I was chosen for this role. And maybe you're not ready today to tell me that you're upset that I'm the one who got the promotion, or that you have a problem with the way that I manage this particular project or this part of my job. I've just opened the door so that when you are more comfortable, you can come back to me and we can still have that conversation. So I love internal promotions because you love supporting your team and recognizing members for their hard work, and ideally you want everybody on board to be excited about it. But there can be a tricky component to it and a competitive component to it. So keep that piece in mind. The more that this person shows up as the kind of leader they want to be, just put that attitude and that energy forward, the better. But for you, the best thing you can do is publicly, loudly, and frequently proclaim your support for this person so that everybody else knows this was your choice. Managing a manager, I would love to get more qualifications on that question, Jackie, of kind of what aspect. Is this a delegation question? Is just having a bigger team? And we can absolutely go deeper on a different Training Tuesday about that as well. But that could be a very interesting topic. And hey, Joyce, thank you for joining. So we covered how do we get our passion back if we've lost it, or at least steps to try to kickstart that process. We've covered promotions from within the team. Let's see. Question I got from someone in the group, I don't know if she's here, but someone in the group was, is job hopping acceptable? I love this question so much. I probably try to talk more women in particular, into job hopping than not. And here's why. Job hopping, well, first of all, let's define it. I look at job hopping as you have been in a role for less than 2 years. Less than 2 years. And now you're switching companies. To me, that's job hopping. You're changing companies after only a year or 18 months or even less tenure in that job and in that company, and now you're moving to a different company. Might be the same job, might be a slightly different job. Job hopping happens a whole lot more now with starting with Gen Xers. Honestly, we were the ones who kind of started the job hopping because that really came along with the advent of technology. And certain industries, tech being one of them, move so quickly that 20 years ago, people started job hopping more, right? It became a lot less frequent for people to be in a role for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. That still happens, but it tends to happen in older industries. So first of all, if you're job hopping, consider the industry that you're in, because certain industries will definitely look at longevity as a factor of whether you're a solid employee or not. Today, most industries, especially if they're in tech or they're around tech, they're not as concerned. In fact, they kind of expect you to have worked at a few different places, gotten a few bits of experience. I'm a fan of job hopping if you are in a job situation that is untenable. You've got a boss who's a jerk, you've got a company that's failing, you've got a situation around you that simply says, this isn't going to work for me. I gotta go. In which case, I'm a big fan of, you don't wait a year, 2 years, 3 years being miserable or being underpaid or being bullied before you get out of there. It's not worth it. It's never worth it. You owe yourself the opportunity to see what else is out there. One of the biggest pushbacks I get from my clients who call me to say, I want to leave my job, but the but is always, I'll never get paid as much somewhere else. I might not have the flexibility if I go somewhere else. You're already setting yourself up for not getting paid and not having flexible hours. You owe it to yourself to explore the opportunity to get the job you want at the pay you want with the terms and conditions that you want. They're out there. They're out there. You don't owe the company anything except the job it pays you for. I don't care how long you've been there. I don't care if they supported you through 5 pregnancies. I don't care if they supported you through the death of your dog or your parent or anybody else. You don't owe them. They pay you to do a job. Now, I am not saying you shouldn't love where you work. You shouldn't love your coworkers. You shouldn't have loyalty to your boss or your team, but that loyalty has limits, and the limit is, when is it hurting you? You do not owe your boss, your team, or your company the loyalty to the extent that you aren't getting paid what you deserve, that you aren't getting the promotion or the career track that you've earned, that you aren't getting the time off or the flexibility that you need to live your life. You don't owe anybody that but yourself. Now, here's what you look out for if you're looking at switching careers, switching jobs. If your resume has more than 2 or 3 jobs in a row where you've been there for less than 2 years, I might rethink job hopping. Job hopping a couple of times, once or twice. I'm in this job, I've been there for a year or 2 years, and then I'm out, and I'm at the next job a year or 2 years, then I'm out. That 3rd job, I ought to think about sticking around. That 4th job, definitely, because at that point it becomes a pattern that you only stick around for 24 months and then peace out, you're done, which is not a great look that employers want to see. So that's 1. 2, it typically takes you 3 years to get good at your job. I don't care how long you've done your job or how much of an expert you are at it. When you walk into a new company, first year, you're learning the company. You're learning how the organization works. You're learning what all the back office processes are, and you are learning what is expected of you and your skills in that job at that company. That's year 1. It takes a year. Year 2 is you're settled in. You're settling into your job. You now have the opportunity to actually do the job. You're not distracted now by, who approves what and what the processes are, where the budget comes from, or what you're expected to report on. You know that now. Year 2, you get to do the job you were hired for. Job hoppers, peace out, usually sometime in year 2, which is unfortunate because they're actually just getting into the good stuff. Year 3 is when you get to say, hey, now I really know what I'm doing because I know the environment, I know the players, I know the politics, I know the systems, and I know how this job works in this company. Now I can innovate. Year 3 is when you can push the envelope and say, hey, there's some things we haven't done here that we really ought to look at doing. And now you have the history with the company and the credibility to make those things happen. I am a big fan if you are at a job and it pays well, you like what you're doing, and you have the opportunity to learn and grow. I'm a big fan of a 3 to 5 year window of sticking around that long before you bail and you job hop. If you are job hopping, be clear on why you're leaving. Your boss is a bully. The pay just isn't there. The politics are untenable, but be clear why you're leaving and go somewhere. Don't leave, go somewhere. 9 times out of 10, if you flee a job for the next job because you just got to get the hell out, trust me, you've just landed yourself in a worse job. Every time I left a job because I was like, it can't possibly get worse. Oh, yes, it did. It got worse because I was leaving, I was fleeing, but I wasn't going towards something. When you leave a job, any job, don't care what it is, don't care how bad it is, go somewhere. Go towards something. Make the leaving worthwhile. If you're going to have the job hopping on your resume, right? Make it worthwhile and go towards a goal. Go towards something bigger, better, more interesting. Okay, so that's the job hopping question. Let's see. What time are we at? Okay, we can do at least one more question. Let me see here. I've got a question about skills, and I've got a question about self-care. Preference. Also, and I've got 3 more questions. I'm not going to get to all of them. So skill development was 1 question. Self-care was question 2. And question 3 was staying connected with my family while having a demanding career. 1, 2, or 3, ladies, you get to vote. Question 1 on, put it in the chat, which you'd like to hear about. Do you want to hear more about skills development to focus on, self-care, or staying connected with your family? Any votes? No votes? I can just pick on my own? Don't make me pick. 3. Jackie says 3. So the question was, what are some ways I can stay connected with my family while pursuing... Oh, and then we have a 1. Joyce, you're late. Let me see if I can squeeze both in. Are you guys really just going through all 3 questions? Unfair. All right, I started with Jackie, so I'm going to stick with that one. What are some ways to stay connected with my family while I'm pursuing my career, and how do I manage expectations? So I'm going to answer this. There's 2 quick ways I'm going to answer this. Managing expectations, whether it's your family, whether it's your boss, whether it's your coworkers, doesn't matter who it is. The 2 things you need to do is 1, over communicate. Over communicate what you're doing, when you're doing it. Over communicate what you need and why you need it. Over communicate what you expect and how it will help you. Over communicate what you can do, what you can't do, especially in time frames provided. Okay? So over communication is key, because just because we say something once or twice doesn't mean other people remember it if it's not their priority. Hand in hand with over communication, hold your boundaries. Hold your boundaries. You have to tell people no. You have to practice telling them no a lot. And if you over communicate, your boundaries actually become pretty clear, because that's part of what you're over communicating. And then it becomes easier to hold the boundaries. Now, what I mean when I say over communicating, I mean things as simple as when you're working, over communication is sending the text in the middle of the day to your partner, to your children, to your parents, that it's just the 2-minute, hey, just a quick reminder, I'm working till 6 tonight, hope your day is going well. It's the quick phone call that says, I'm just checking in. Just checking in, I've got these 3 more things to do, but then I'll be done for the day. Over communicating, use whatever tools you have, but do it repeatedly and do it often. 1, just the contact, and do it with your boss. Hey boss, I know you're worried about that project I'm working on. I promise to have a draft to you by tomorrow. You've set the expectation of what you're working on. It's a priority, when they're going to get it. Over communicate the, I know you asked me for this project and you wanted it tomorrow, but I'm already working on project A. Which one would you rather have? Over communication gives you opportunities to have these conversations, and you're going to feel like, good Lord, I tell everybody everything, but trust me, the benefit comes back to you, because it includes the boundaries. And the boundaries are, I can't do that project today because I've got this other one unless I'm switching them out. The boundaries are, I told you earlier today that I had these 3 things to finish. I will be done at this time. I promise, but I have to focus and get this done. So when it comes to balancing and staying connected with your family and staying connected with your boss and making sure everybody understands where you're at and has reasonable expectations, you over communicate and you hold your boundaries, because when you hold your boundaries also, it will become really clear when things are spilling out over, which means it's too much, which means you're not saying no enough, or you need to go have the conversation around saying no. Okay, really quickly, I know we're at 6:30, so I'm going to just take 2 more minutes, because there was multiple requests for skills. So the skills question that came in was, what skills do I need to focus on to stay relevant in my field or relevant for my future career? So I don't know. I don't know, because I don't know the field you're in. But I can tell you Here are the questions you should be asking yourself if you're thinking about, I need more training, I need more schooling, I need to brush up on certain skills, or I'm not going to be employable, okay? When you're thinking about developing skills of some kind, where do you want to be in 2 years? What's the career path you see for yourself? What's the role? You need to be able to answer that question. Where do I see myself in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years? What's the path I want to be on? Is the skill I'm thinking about relevant to that path? Is it relevant? I had a conversation today actually with someone on my team. We actually were talking about this question because she's hiring somebody. So she reports to me. She's hiring somebody to report to her, and we were talking about what skills do they need. And we talked about the fact that I had said to her, I haven't had my hands dirty in Salesforce. Salesforce.com is a CRM for those of you who don't play with it. I haven't had my hands dirty in Salesforce in a good 7 to 8 years. I know how to log in. I know how to look at dashboards and reports. I used to know how to pull reports, but our CRM is set up in such a way that my reports don't seem to make sense. But I haven't really had to be a CRM expert or a Salesforce expert in a good 7 years, maybe 10, because I've had people on my team who did that for me. So I look at Salesforce skills and I go, I am super rusty on these Salesforce skills. Am I going to go sign up for a class to get better at it? No, I'm not. Because in my future, I do not want to be better at Salesforce. If there's a job out there that is perfect for you, will the skill help you make more money? Will it help you get promoted? Be really clear on that. Don't just assume because you have more skills or you check more boxes, you're going to make more money. That isn't true. That is not true. It is a fallacy that we put in front of ourselves that the more certifications we have and the more training we have and the more degrees we have, that somehow we're more employable and we make more money. That is not why people hire you. People hire you because somewhere in the interview you connected with them and you convinced them you were the right person for the job. Is this a skill that you want? Is this a skill you actually have an interest in? Like I just said, I have zero interest in getting better at Salesforce unless I absolutely have to. Today, I don't absolutely have to, and I do not foresee a job in my near future where I absolutely have to. So I'm not going to do it. Questions to ask yourself for the skill. Where do you want to be in the future? Is the skill relevant to where you are now and where you want to be in the future? Is having this skill going to help you get paid more, get promoted, or enjoy your life more? Answer those questions, and that will give you some direction on where you focus, how you develop yourself. Because maybe more important than Salesforce skills for me, maybe more important is my strategic and analytical skills. Maybe more important is my business financial skills. And maybe I need to take a course on that, on reading the CFO reports and understanding what the hell EBITDA is and things like that. Different skills I want to look at for where I want to go in my career. All right, last question was self-care. Let's define self-care, because the question was, how do I indulge in my self-care but stop feeling guilty? So let's talk about what self-care really is. Because we immediately, I think, in general, we immediately pop in, I get to take a bubble bath. I get to go nap for 6 hours. Whatever it is, the alone, cushy, I get the mani-pedi. And those are all self-care things if, when you're done doing it, you feel like you've been pampered. You feel like you've taken care of yourself in a really sweet way. It's refreshing for you. It's relaxing for you. Self-care is something that you do to help you release and let go of daily stress. So if it's something where you're still in your head circling over, I should have done this and I still need to do this and all of this is going on, you're not really indulging in self-care. You're just ruminating in your head while some other activity is happening. So self-care is an activity. It's something that you do that allows you to step away from the day-to-day, right? Take a break from this day-to-day and come out of it feeling relaxed and refreshed. So I had a client just yesterday tell me her form of self-care was to not do her day job but to go off and work on a house that she's currently renovating to flip it. But tearing down drywall and laying out tile and things like that, they relax her. She's not thinking about managing financial portfolios. She's getting creative with her hands. She's doing something tangible. That's a form of self-care. Taking the time to go do those things is a form of self-care. For me, I used to get manicures on a very regular basis. It is not my form of self-care. I am typically in my head the whole time thinking about other things I could be doing with the time I did it, and I still do it occasionally. I do like the way it looks, don't get me wrong. But I did it more because I was showing up in person at meetings and felt like I needed a more polished look pulled together. I wanted to feel more buttoned up and polished. And I will still get manicures to go feel buttoned up and polished, to make sure I'm making a certain impression for work or for other things. But I do not do it to go feel like I've had a spa day and I've relaxed. I don't know why, but manicures don't do that for me. So what is your form of self-care? Now, whatever that is, here's the two things you need to remember. When it comes to self-care and indulging in it without the guilt. If I don't take care of me, I cannot take care of anyone else. That's the number one mantra. If I don't take care of me, I cannot take care of my kids, my parents, my dog, my cat. If I am sick, if I am not well, if I have no energy, if I have no mind space left, I am no good to all the other people I want to give my time and energy to. I have nothing left. So, reason number one to not feel guilty about whatever your self-care activity is if I don't do this, no one benefits. Not me, not anyone else. Reason number two. You are a nicer person. You are a nicer person when you take care of you. I am a nicer person when I take care of me. So maybe I'm just saying that because it's mostly me, but I think all of us, our energy and our mood is influenced by our level of self-care. Basics of self-care. Did I eat? Did I sleep? Did I move my body? Those are the three main things. Did I eat? Did I sleep? Did I move my body? I got up this morning. I did not sleep well because I have a cold. I do not feel great because I have a cold. So sleep was off schedule. Energy is feeling off schedule. I have not exercised since Saturday because I've been feeling sick. And so what happened was a particular coworker sent me an email. I was irritated by the email. I wrote a response in my irritated frame of mind, and then fortunately I stopped myself and went, don't send that. Please don't send that. Because that's cranky, sick, tired Natalie responding. Not my best energy, not my best effort. I did write it though, which made me feel better. And then I deleted about 80% of it. Truthfully, 20% of cranky still kind of came through. I'm not going to lie. Today maybe was not my best day. But it did make me think, I am such a nicer person, a more thoughtful person, a more considerate person, a more forgiving person of myself and of others when I've done my self-care. I've slept, I've eaten, I've moved my body in some way. So define your self-care. Define it first. You should not feel guilty about it. It doesn't fit in any formula. There's nothing that says something is or isn't self-care. If it relaxes you and takes your mind off your day-to-day worries, it is self-care. Remind yourself that if you don't do it, you can't help anybody else. If you do not take care of yourself, you are no good to you and you are no good to anyone else in your life. And you will be nicer. I will be nicer. I'll just speak for me. I will be nicer to be around. I am nicer to be around when I do this. And I think some of you might be nicer to be around too when you do this. So, all right, that is all we're going to tackle for tonight. If you have other questions that I didn't address, feel free to drop them in the comments, and I will be happy to tackle them on a future Training Tuesday. If you liked also this kind of format of just throw your questions in the chat, throw your questions at me via email or chat within a day or two before we jump on, and I'm going to kind of do it off the cuff, but I'm happy to do this format again periodically with you guys. It's kind of fun to sort of look at a question and go, huh, how would I answer that? It'd be a good time. But let me know. Drop a note in the chat that says do this again or don't do this again. And if you have other questions, drop it in the chat as well, and we will tackle those down. So for now, ladies, thank you for joining me tonight on this sweltering Training Tuesday. I hope everybody is cool and comfortable for the rest of your evening. And I'll see you next week. Have a good one.